What is next for Daniel Jones and the New York Giants? They have a lot of questions that need to be answered in this offseason, especially in free agency and the NFL draft, but they have to go out there and fix a lot of things with this roster. Saquon Barkley is scheduled to be a free agent with this team, and it's going to be hard to go out there and franchise tag him again and keep him around. I do think that Saquon Barkley is one of the best running backs in the NFL. And we can go back to just a year ago when you had the debate. Do you pay Daniel Jones? Do you pay Saquon Barkley? Daniel Jones is a quarterback. That's a more coveted position. That position is hard to find good consistency out of in the NFL. That's why they paid Daniel Jones the extension and they franchise tagged Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley in the past has dealt with injuries. But Saquon Barkley, like I mentioned before, is one of the best running backs in the NFL today. He had 962 rushing yards on the season, 6 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 4 yards a carry. That's a down year for Saquon Barkley. And he missed some games this season as well, dealing with an ankle injury. I think that Saquon Barkley would be better suited for another team that's trying to make a playoff push or for a team that's trying to make a Super Bowl push. He would be a great fit with one of those teams instead of being with the New York Giants. The New York Giants are a team that just went out and made the playoffs a year ago. They went 9-7-1. They beat the Minnesota Vikings in the wild card, and they ultimately did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. But at the same time, this is not a team that's going to go out there and compete for a Super Bowl. So keeping Saquon Barkley around on a 3 to 4 year deal would definitely not help this team out when they have other weaknesses with this team. And the biggest one is Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones did not have a good season this season. He had 2 passing touchdowns to 6 interceptions in 6 games for 206 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. I will say this about Daniel Jones. He's not the best quarterback in the NFL, not even close, but you can get something out of Daniel Jones. He could be a consistent, good starter at that position. The offensive line has to be better. Is he a franchise quarterback? No, he could be a top 15 quarterback at best, and you can win football games with Daniel Jones. It seems like last year was just an outlier for this team because we have never seen him play that well before. But Brian Daboll installed a very good system with Daniel Jones. They did not have a true number 1 wide receiver. It was just him and Saquon Barkley. Those are the 2 guys that are the nucleus of the offense. That was it. They ran the football very well up front with Saquon Barkley, and you also got Daniel Jones out on the run as well. He had 15 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions, but he had 708 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns when they made that playoff run against the Minnesota Vikings. So if you can get that play out of Daniel Jones, it's not Patrick Mahomes, it's not Joe Burrow, it's not Josh Allen, but it's good enough to get you over the hump. He can be similar to Alex Smith with this team. They have to go out there and fix the offensive line. He did look bad in those 6 games. He had 1 good game against the Arizona Cardinals in the second half. He was the reason why they came back and won that game. But besides that, the offense was abysmal because of the offensive line. He got sacked 10 times in a game against the Seattle Seahawks. He was on pace to be one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL this season. We have been talking about fixing this offensive line since 2015 to 2016 with the New York Giants, and they haven't been able to. You have Evan Neal at the tackle position. He's a former first-round pick from Alabama. He's terrible. He needs to be a guard with this team, and if he can't play a guard, you have nothing. This is a guy that will suck as a security guard as well. He can't protect anyone. He is terrible. He is too slow to deal with edge rushers, and he's not strong enough on that side of the ball either. He has to play better with this team. And if he doesn't want to move over to being a guard, you have to just let him go at this point because he's just wasting space with this team. He is horrendous. Yes, we are still early into his career. It's only 2 years, but he is terrible. He looked worse this season than he did last season. And he got worse every single game. You also have Justin Pugh, who is not a good guard with this team either. The best offensive lineman for the last couple of years has been Andrew Thomas. He's the only one. You have John Michael Schmitz at the center position. The thing is with John Michael Schmitz, he's a rookie and he's young. Hopefully he can develop. On the back half of the season, he did play better, but he did struggle in his rookie season. They have to get better in the trenches. Forget the wide receivers, forget the running backs. It's about the offensive line, the quarterback right now. If you can give Daniel Jones enough time in the pocket, he can go out there and make the right play. What happened against the Dallas Cowboys in week 1 4 months ago was ridiculous. The interceptions were not all on him. One interception by Stephon Gilmore was he was fading out to the right side. He throws the ball to the middle of the field. You have to throw that football away. He also threw the ball to Saquon Barkley. The linebacker comes up, he hits him. It goes for a pick 6. That's not on Daniel Jones. What is also not on Daniel Jones when you have less than 2 seconds in the pocket against the Seattle Seahawks. You can have open wide receivers all you want. And you can try to scheme those things up like Brian Dable did, but it doesn't matter. The offensive line play is horrible. And early on, the offensive line play was abysmal. This is where I will get on Daniel Jones about. You can only give me 2 passing touchdowns in 6 games. Tommy DeVito came in and looked better than you in the first couple of games he played. Tyrod Taylor came in and looked better than you as well. They had a close game against the Buffalo Bills to where Tyrod Taylor played very good with the team. Darren Waller had more of an impact with the team when Daniel Jones was taken out. 2 things can be true. Daniel Jones could have been playing bad, and the offensive line could have been playing bad as well. And both of those things were true for the first 6 games of the season. And Daniel Jones tore his ACL against the Las Vegas Raiders. Tommy DeVito is an undrafted free agent. There is no reason to why the offense should look better with him than it did with Daniel Jones, who was a former first-round pick with this team and a guy that you gave a lot of money to. It makes 0 sense. He has to play better moving forward. And they can move off of this contract in the next 2 years. The general manager came out and basically said, hey, he's going to be our starter going into training camp. We're going to have a battle with him and Tommy DeVito. But at the same time, we're open to drafting quarterback. Do that if you can. Because Daniel Jones may not be the long-term answer with this team. I can tell you right now, in the next 3 to 4 years, he may not be with this roster. He's just not a top 5 to top 10 quarterback, and that is something the New York Giants need. But they need to work on this offensive line. I look at the wide receivers. I think they're pretty good enough. Jalen Hyatt has very good potential. Did not do much his rookie season. Only 373 receiving yards, but he has unbelievable speed going down the field. Hopefully he can develop. Wan'Dale Robinson only played a couple of games his rookie season because he tore his ACL. This season, only 525 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Darius Slayton was the best wide receiver with this team, 770 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. So you can add in a wide receiver through the NFL draft, but it doesn't matter if you don't work on the offensive line. You see what I'm going with this? They selected Saquon Barkley a couple years ago. You had offensive line problems. Do not come into this NFL draft and get a guy like Malik Neighbors, the LSU wide receiver, when you have offensive line problems. Fix it through free agency or fix it through the NFL draft. You have to get better up front. And I do like Brian Dable as a head coach. You also have Darren Waller as well. He is going to be a very good tight end with this team for the next couple of years. The problem is with Darren Waller, he can't stay healthy. The last time we saw him be consistent on the field, and he pretty much played the entire season, he had over 1,000 yards receiving with the Las Vegas Raiders. Only 552 receiving yards and 1 receiving touchdown. And he's dealing with a lot of soft tissue injuries as well. From a guy that has seen the game for a lot of years in the past, when you're dealing with hamstring injuries and things to the lower body and soft tissue injuries, they don't get better over time. Hopefully, Darren Waller can eventually go back to form like he was with the Las Vegas Raiders, but I highly doubt that. But he's still a very good tight end. I'm not saying that he's not. And they're dealing with some other changes as well to the coaching staff. No more Wink Martindale. You now have Shane Bowen as the defensive coordinator with this team. He has a lot to work with. Xavier McKinney was a phenomenal safety this season. He was amazing. This kid can be one of the best safeties in the league for years to come. 1 forced fumble, 3 interceptions on the season, 11 pass deflections, and he has 78 solo tackles as well. That's phenomenal for a safety. Adoree Jackson has some good plays here and there, but overall throughout the season, he wasn't a good corner with this team. He's not a true number 1 corner. I think he's a number 2 to number 3 at best. Deonte Banks did not have the best season this season, but he's a rookie. I hope that he can develop over time. And the biggest thing is with Deonte Banks is how they used him. Wink Martindale loves to blitz. He put that kid on the island. I think that Wink Martindale did a lot of things that Brian Dable didn't like towards the end of the season, and those two were butting heads. And you had a reporter ask Brian Dable about that in a press conference. He joked about it. Then a couple weeks later, Wink Martindale basically said this: "I'm done with this. Just let me out of my contract." Now Wink Martindale's headed to college. Shane Bowen comes over, was a very good defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, and has done some very good things in the past as well. All you have to do is just make sure Deonte Banks can develop to that next level. Continue to work with Xavier McKinney because that kid is a star. You have Bobby Okereke, a guy that you got in free agency. He's a very good linebacker with this team. And you also have Kayvon Thibodeau as well. I love Kayvon Thibodeau. For the first couple weeks of the season, he did nothing. Then out of nowhere, he started to pop off off the edge. He needs to be more consistent with this team, but he's a very good perennial pass rusher with this team. They definitely hit on him in the NFL draft. They just weren't able to hit on Evan Neal. 11.5 sacks this season and 3 forced fumbles. And he's going to continue to get better with this team as well. And that's the best way to beat teams in your division, is to get pressure up front. You had Jihad Ward as well, who had 5 sacks on the season. He's a solid defensive lineman with this team. You have Ashawn Robinson, who's a big defensive lineman. He's not going to go out there and get a lot of sacks in the season. He's going to go out there and stop the run. You did trade Leonard Williams to the Seattle Seahawks, and that's a pick that you can use in the NFL draft to just push it on offense or just get more defensive help if you would want to, or to even move up in the draft in the first round if you want to. So that's going to be a valuable pick for this team. You still have Dexter Lawrence, 4.5 sacks, a very good elite defensive tackle in the NFL. They have good pieces. It's just their offense is very inconsistent because of Daniel Jones and because of the offensive line. If you can get that same play that you got out of Daniel Jones a year ago, and this defense can just play a little bit better, there is no reason to why the New York Giants can't be a team that can win 7 to 8 games in the season. Maybe a year ago was an outlier when they were just 9-7-1. But losing Saquon Barkley, if he decides to leave this team, that's definitely going to hurt this team with explosive plays down the field. Because Saquon Barkley, even though he only averaged 4 yards a carry, he is still one of the best running backs in the NFL today. He can catch the football at the backfield. He can go catch the edge like it's no tomorrow. He's explosive in the open field. I would love to see him stick around because the Giants drafted him, and I love for players to stay with their team that drafted them and just finish out their career with them. But that's not how the NFL works anymore. Sadly, that's not how it works. And right now, it seems like Saquon Barkley really wants a championship and a chance to go out there and get some money as well. And right now, the Giants can offer him the money, but right now, they can't offer him the championship. And that's unfortunate. Even if they make the right moves for next season, this team is still a ways away from competing for a Super Bowl or even getting a deep playoff push. I really hope that a year ago was not just a one-year outlier for Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, because Giants fans are sick of this. It's been a lot of mediocrity with the Giant franchise over the last couple of years. They had the one playoff loss a couple years ago with Eli Manning and Odell Beckham, to where he had a lot of drop passes in that game against the Packers. It was the boat pitcher, and it seemed like the team has been cursed since then. Hopefully, Brian Daboll can rally in the troops and they can be in a better situation next season. But we will see. But the biggest question is this, and I pose this to you guys. What should they do with Daniel Jones moving forward? You can't cut him right now. You just gave him the contract, but you can bench him. Brian Daboll was the same guy that benched Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay could not catch a cold in flu season. Let him go. He basically said, you're sitting down because you can't catch. You're hurting the team. I don't care how much you're getting paid. So we know if Tommy DeVito is a better quarterback in training camp in the entire offseason than Daniel Jones, he's going to start Tommy DeVito. The general manager and ownership may want to just get in there and meld in. At that point in time, you may just see Brian Daboll want to walk away. And they pretty much let him run the show. Brian Daboll is a very smart offensive mind. So no matter who he puts out there on the offense, he's putting the best players out there that fits his system, and it's going to help the team. But let me know in the comment section below, what should they do with Daniel Jones and what is next for the New York Giants. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one guy stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace.